One, two, three, four.
The Leadership Adventure.
The leadership adventure. Authenticity is very much important. And if you want to be authentic and perceived as authentic, then this is the way to achieve consistency. From my point of view, the real universal leader, multicultural leader does not exist.
The Leadership Adventure. Welcome to The Leadership Adventure, the podcast that takes you through the highs and lows of being a leader in the 21st century. In this series, we talk to experienced leaders about their journey to success, inspiring you to make a difference and face the challenges ahead. I'm Olga Dudko, and I will be your host today. In this episode, we will talk about cross-cultural leadership and how to develop cultural intelligence. I'm joined today by Emanuele Castellani, Executive Board Member at Cegos Group. Emanuele has more than 25 years of experience managing people and teams across Europe and APAC region. In recent years, Emanuele has been involved in developing new business models to build successful organizations across different countries and cultures. He has extensive experience in international business development, managing complex organizations and cross-functional teams. Hello, Emanuele, and welcome to this podcast.
Hello, Olga. Thanks for having me here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for being here. I know how busy you are, how much you travel. So thanks a lot for finding the time to sit down with me today. I know that you have just come back from your business trip to Singapore. I wasn't actually sure that you would join me today, so thanks. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I just adapted to the new time zone.
New time zone, yeah.
6 hours difference is not that easy, but...
So thanks a lot for that. So I want to start this conversation, a very interesting conversation, about your story and your background. You have quite an international career path. You joined Cegos Italy some years ago, and then you took over the APAC region and then Europe. So talk to me about this. When you started managing international teams, what was your strategy to understand the culture better and to adapt to it?
Do you really think I had a strategy?
Well, I hope
Are
so.
you convinced?
Let's find it out.
Because I think I've been very lucky in my life, because when I finished my studies, I got my very first job. Yeah. I started immediately working with foreign countries. So I was working with Italy, Italy is not a foreign country, but Italy for me. But Belgium, France, so easy countries, let's say European. But also some African countries like Morocco, Tunisia. And I was very young, something like 26, 27 years old. And so I started there. Yeah. I started there since the beginning. I could measure myself with different perspectives. Then during my career, I focused on Italy, and for many years I only worked with Italy, and then I again went on the international field. First again with Europe, then again with Africa, and then with United States. But the big jump, from my point of view, was the Asian countries, because I found that the cultural difference with Asian countries is much higher than with the rest. But you were asking me if I had a strategy. Yes. I was joking about this. No, honestly, I didn't have any strategy. Yeah. But I used to repeat to myself, Emanuele, remember, you have 2 eyes, you have 2 ears, and only 1 mouth. What does it mean? Speak less, and try to hear, try to understand, be curious, and adapt yourself to what you see, to what you observe, and try to be a baby, like a baby when you are playing and you are curious.
Okay. And open to all the new things.
Yeah. Open to new things, open to open to accept what you observe.
Yeah.
That's important.
To the differences that you observe, right?
Yeah, not only differences, yes, but also what is equal to your lifestyle, but also the differences. Observe in
And be
general,
open.
yeah, and
This
be
is
open.
very wise, for especially for a 20 years old, 25 years. Good for you, Emanuele. So, yeah, talk to me now about the importance of the subject. You know, I remember when I first approached you and asked you to talk to me on this podcast, I remember you picked up this topic very quickly. It was like the
Yeah,
first topic you
boom,
wanted,
immediately. Yeah,
to talk to me about. Tell me why.
yeah,
Why this topic
yeah.
is important.
Yeah, for me it's very relevant topic because as you said, I'm just coming back from Singapore. The week before I was in London. The week before I was in Lisbon. Then I spend 2-3 days a week in France. Then I go back to Italy and so on. So it's a very relevant topic. Why? The reason is very simple and easy to explain. This world, thanks to digital, thanks to also means of transportation and the cost of moving around the world is become smaller, I would say, but it is not one single word. Is a word which is composed by many differences, many aspects. Okay, and we have to deal with many people that are very different from us. This is the first point. The second point is that, and this is maybe even more important, if you want to make things happen, you have to find the way to let them happen. Okay, and culture by culture, it's not the same way that you can use to make things happen.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have two choices at least. One is the managerial way, the other one is the leadership way. Where's the difference? From my point of view, being a manager means more establishing rules, okay? And the people you manage, they will follow the rules, try to let things go differently than they would go alone, if they were alone, but through rules. When we talk about leadership, first of all, it's not you telling people you are a leader, okay? It's people deciding that you are a leader. They, or rather, not that you are a leader, that they consider you as a leader, okay? They see the leader in you, okay? That's important. And then it's not by rules, okay, but it's the leadership that is giving them the inspiration to behave in a way rather than another one. Okay, that's very important. And to me, if I have to choose, behaving through leadership is more an accelerator rather than behaving through managerial management. Yes.
You were answering this question, and at the same time, I was thinking about different dimensions of culture. When you talked about the rules that, follow the rules, some people expect these rules to know what to follow, etc. So there are several dimensions of culture, like feminine, masculine, power, distance, uncertainty, avoidance, long-term, short-term, etc. So my next question is, how do you navigate in these different dimensions of culture, and also how do you remain a leader everywhere in these different dimensions?
I repeat again, are you sure I remain a leader everywhere?
Well, tell me. We will decide
Yeah, many
at the end of this
doubts, many
podcast.
doubts about
Yeah.
this, but it's interesting to think about it. Well, today we can really say you are you have to be, and you are human being at 360 degrees. Okay, if I think, for example, to myself, I'm a manager, okay, but I'm also a father, I'm a husband, I'm a friend. friend, I'm someone who loves sports, etc., etc. And people can see all those aspects of my life very easily through social networking, for example, because I have a profile on LinkedIn, I have a profile on Facebook, I have a profile on Instagram, I have a profile on Strata.
Should follow
So
you.
no,
Yeah.
on Facebook and Instagram you would not find
No,
many
not
things.
interesting.
No,
Okay.
but on LinkedIn,
On LinkedIn, okay.
if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, I'd be very
Yeah.
happy for that. And also to receive your comments
Yeah.
would be very much important. But going back to the topic, I would say you have to be coherent, okay? Because people can see who you are and can see your authenticity, okay, in that way very easily, okay? If you are, let's say, a honest person, that is much appreciated, I would say, everywhere, okay? Even if there are environments where honesty is not appreciated, for example, okay? So if we are talking about leadership everywhere in every culture, we can also say there's a kind of culture where honesty is not appreciated, for example, okay? But close parentheses, okay? But just to say, authenticity is very much important. And if you want to be authentic and perceived as authentic, then this is the way to achieve consistency.
Yeah, people
Okay.
need to know who they deal
Yeah.
with, right? You
Yeah.
can't change it every now
Exactly.
and then and behave
Exactly.
in
Exactly.
different ways. Yeah.
People normally are afraid of uncertainty. Okay, if they can predict your behaviors, it's easier. Okay, and for example, if you show you are at their service, okay, servant leader, okay, someone who is at disposal. What does it mean being at disposal? Being available to share your success, your experiences, your failure. Why not? Admitting to fail is also
You're a human being, right? You
yeah,
fail sometimes.
yeah. We are talking about leadership.
Yeah.
Excuse me, about LinkedIn before, and I just wrote a post about failure.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I will check
because
it out after this
it was
podcast. I will do.
very very interesting one, because it's also important to share your failures and accept failures. Okay, but also it is important to be. I like to say this word, a decoder. Okay, decoder. Why decoder? Because this world today is much more complex than yesterday. Okay, and people struggle to understand the reality where they live. Okay, so if they find someone who really help them to decode this environment, this world, they can really benefit of it. That's one of the reasons why they can consider you as a leader, for example. And then I've been talking about success. People prefer to be part of a success story rather than part of a failure story.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so if you help them have success, then
Yeah.
it's very important as well.
Okay. This is very interesting. Thanks, Emanuele. So consistency and service and being a decoder and create this environment to of a success story. This is very important, but it made me think about some other aspects of leadership, like for example, motivation and engagement. Leaders
I knew.
inspire.
I knew
I'm
you
sorry,
would have
but I will have to
gone.
answer this question. I want to have your opinion on this. You know, leaders inspire people, right? They do. They motivate, engage, provide vision and meaning sometimes. So when it comes to different cultures, we talk about different values, different value sets. So how do you motivate and engage and provide meaning to people with different values
Why?
from different
Why?
cultures?
Why do I have to motivate people?
So you don't?
No.
Okay,
No,
tell me why.
no. I'm smiling with this question because I'm really convinced, and you mentioned Singapore. I was giving a speech in Singapore about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we jumped in the motivation topic. Okay, and I said in that situation exactly what I'm going to say right now. I don't think it is a part of a role of a leader to give motivation to people.
Yeah.
Okay, I cannot think that people um, sit on a chair waiting for someone giving them motivation. Okay, that's reactive behavior. Okay, the role of a leader is to mobilize people. So it's exactly the opposite. If you want people to be proactive rather than reactive, you don't have to motivate people. You have to set the environment, you have to give the reason, you have to give them the possibility to find everywhere, like on a table, you put on the table the pieces that they can pick to create their own motivation. But
Yeah.
but they can build their
Yeah,
motivation
themselves,
by
yeah.
themselves.
I remember when we discussed this topic, and I have this image in mind. In one of your talks, I think you mentioned that, yeah, leaders don't really need to motivate, but they need to give tools and create situations in which people, using those tools and using those situations can create their own meaning.
Yeah, exactly.
This
That's
is, yeah,
exactly that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, because I repeat, the role of a leader is to mobilize people.
yeah,
Is to mobilize people, and not creating reactive people. Okay, but proactive people. So, if I am able to give a reason to a person for being motivated, this person will be able by herself or himself to find the motivation where he knows he can find the motivation. That's very important.
Okay, so leaders don't motivate.
No.
Good.
Well, let's say differently. I am not the kind of leader that loves to
If you need some
motivate people.
motivation, don't ask me about it.
I would like to say that
But
those
inspire. Yeah.
inspire.
Inspire, yeah.
Yes, yes. I'd like to say that those who consider myself as a leader, they get inspiration, they get motivation by themselves. And they find this motivation in something that I do that I don't know, I
Yeah.
don't even know, but they find their motivation there.
And from your point of view, this approach, I mean, I give you the tools, I give you, these
So, like
situations.
self-service.
Yeah, self-service, exactly. Go ahead and build your meaning and build your
Yeah,
motivation.
yeah.
Is it something that applies to all the cultures? Or is it something, some specific culture specific?
Well, this is a very bad question.
I'm sorry.
You're
I'm sorry, but I need to
you are not
explore this
you are
topic
not
from different
you
points
are
of
not
views.
fair. You are not fair.
Sorry. We will not
I'm
cut
joking.
it.
I'm joking. It's true. It's true. There are cultures where people are more reactive than proactive, and cultures where the opposite works. Okay, so for sure, in the first ones, they will wait from a leader, but I would say we don't have to make confusion between leadership and management. Okay, maybe those cultures are more used to management rather than leadership. Okay, but I'm sure that if you ask to one of those people if they have a leader, even a singer can be a leader. I remember a story during a training course. We were talking about leadership, and the teacher, the trainer, asked us, "Who you can you mention? Can you mention one of your leaders?"
Yeah, an example, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the participants said, "My leader is Bruce Springsteen." You know, the singer. Yeah. Well, when he said Bruce Springsteen, all the participants laughed. Okay, because you don't expect.
Yeah, you don't expect
You
to
don't
be.
expect.
You think about some
You can expect the names of
Yeah.
the most important
The business
managers,
world, yeah.
businessmen, etc., etc. But for him, Bruce Springsteen was a leader. Why? Why? And then he explained. And now I don't want to spend 10 minutes on this, but I guarantee that he mentioned at least 4 or 5 examples, characteristics of this person that really were inspiring for him, and he got inspiration from that.
Yes.
So for him, in this case, Bruce Springsteen was his leader, one of his leaders.
Okay.
And he
Okay.
was a singer.
He was a singer, yeah. You, as you say, you can find inspiration everywhere, anywhere,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
build your
yeah.
vision.
But Bruce Springsteen is a rock and roll.
Yeah.
Okay, and you will never hear something like a
Yeah.
melody like I don't know, um, Pavarotti,
Pavarotti, yeah, 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 I
or
understand,
or
yeah.
something different from
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen. He has his style. So for those who wants to consider himself as a leader, he is the leader.
He was, yeah.
Otherwise, he's not a leader. Around that table, only that person consider him to be a leader.
Yeah. Let me change a little bit the direction of our conversation. Let's talk about something else to explore in more detail this topic. Let's talk about communication styles.
Hmm.
So you talked about authenticity, the importance of it, of consistency, that you need to remain consistent. Well, not only different cultures, but with people you work in. It can be one company, and it's important to remain consistent. It's part of your authenticity. So, when it comes to cross cultural leadership, do you need to adapt your communication style depending on the culture
Well,
you operate in, or you continue being consistent,
well,
as you mentioned?
communication is about two things at least. One is the content, the other one is the style you communicate. Okay, the style you use to communicate. The content you cannot change. If you really want to be authentic, and I was talking about authenticity, I was talking about coherence, being coherent. If you want to be consistent, etc., you cannot change your content. If you say what you think, and you think what you say, the content cannot be adapted culture by culture, but you can adapt the style,
Yes.
the way you communicate what you are saying.
Yeah.
Okay, and for me this is really important because I think a leader should be more evocative rather than descriptive. I think that's the right wording. I mean, when you try to describe something, um, you you enter in the wording, the construction of the sentence, and in the perfectionism of the language you are speaking. When you try to be evocative, you go by examples, metaphors. You use colors. You use all those
Yeah, you
kind
tell
of
stories.
you tell stories,
Right.
exactly. You tell stories, and normally I use a lot of metaphors when
Yes,
when
you're
I
famous for this. I,
I
I
know,
confirm.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. So maybe for this reason, you should appreciate during this podcast. I'm not using any metaphor.
Yeah, not yet, not yet.
Not yet.
We are not done
Not-
yet.
Yes, but the most one is the metaphor of the temperature that you know
Yeah.
how cook spaghetti. But I will.
Talk to me about
No,
that.
no, no. It's too long.
Well, not for
Well,
this
but
podcast. Maybe next
well,
time.
why not?
Yeah.
You know,
Right, yeah.
it could fit. It could fit. You know
Yeah.
why? Because we are talking about communication.
Yes.
We are talking about the content and the style you communicate, and communication is about to create a relationship with someone. Okay, and you can evaluate the quality of a relation like a temperature. Okay, and I always use this metaphor so I make you happy.
No, we are laughing. Just a second, Emanuele. We are laughing for those of you who are listening to us and you don't know what we are talking about. It's just this famous story that Emanuele tells at quite a lot of talks when he does different kinds of talks about how to cook a spaghetti.
Yes, yes, yes. Because the most important factor when you have to cook spaghetti is the temperature of the water.
Yes.
Not everybody knows, but it's the temperature of the water, which has to be 100 degrees.
Okay.
Why do I use this example? Because if the temperature is not 100 degrees, then spaghetti will not cook properly. Okay, you can put oil in the water, you can put salt, you can use the best quality of spaghetti, but they will not cook properly. So what does it mean? There is a specific moment, okay, when a relationship can produce something.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is the way we manage relationship.
Yeah.
Also, the communication is related to build relationship with people. Okay, so the way we use, for example, metaphors, in this case, the metaphor, but I made it very short, is very important. And being evocative, I repeat, is much more impactful rather than description of the
Yeah. Details. Yeah.
examples. Yeah.
Examples. Yeah. It is so. Yeah. It does seem a bit complicated to be a cultural leader. So many things you need to take into account. I imagine. Well, you have more than 25 years of career in this international space.
I'm not that old.
But you.
I'm still.
This is
I'm
not what
still
I'm
young.
implying. I'm just saying
I'm
you.
still young.
You have a lot of experience in this
because I
field.
started very young.
You started, yeah, exactly. Emanuele started very, very young. So I imagine it wasn't always, a success story. You talked in the beginning about the success, and everyone wants to be a part of a success story. But this is not always the case. And the fact that we have some success stories is because we had a lot of stories of failure as well.
Yeah.
And we learned, and that's why we became successful. So talk to me about challenges, exactly obstacles, challenges, problems an international, cross-cultural leader might face, and how to overcome them.
Here I can share with
Another
you.
20 minutes.
I can share with you not a metaphor but a story
But
of
something
my
from
of my my first big mistake when I went to Asia, to Singapore. My first trip, maybe it was my second trip to Singapore. And I spent a couple of days in Singapore. Then we moved to Hong Kong to visit one of our clients. And, during the meeting, you know how Asian people, they give you the business card, keeping it with two hands.
Yes.
It's meaning what I'm giving to you is very important. It's
yeah,
very important.
Yeah.
And they give you with two hands, and you take it with two hands. Okay, that's a sort of ceremony that you have to respect at the beginning of the meeting. But when we don't laugh, huh? When we sat down, and it was the three of us of Cegos Group, and then there were two people from the client, and then we made this ritual of exchange of business card, and I really did it perfectly because I had been trained how to do it. But then a third person arrived from the client, and he sat down. Okay, imagine the table was a square table, like 2 meters, 1 meter and a half per 1.5, something like that. Well, I didn't want to stand up, walk around the table and give the business card, and so I literally launched my business card. Well, don't imagine.
I have the picture in my mind. Okay.
Don't imagine now Emanuele launching 1 meter, but I simply gave with one hand and the last 5 centimeters.
Well, it's a common sense. Don't throw the business cards at people.
That's the first mistake that I had to go through.
Yes.
If you want to learn.
It was an awkward moment, I imagine. Throwing the business card.
Well, in those situations, you expect people to understand, okay?
Yes.
But in fact, they don't understand.
Well, they do, I think, understand, but they don't feel comfortable.
They don't want.
They don't want.
They don't want to understand. Yeah. And for example, last week I was.
What did you do again last week?
No, I was having lunch with some clients. It was an amazing event where I was sharing previously when I gave the speech about the diversity, equity, and inclusion. There was a lunch, and was a Chinese lunch. Okay, and there were big pieces of meat. Okay. And I'm very familiar with chopsticks, okay? But then I asked to someone who was sitting next to me, how should I do to eat those big pieces of meat? And his first question was, "Are you familiar with chopsticks?" I said, "Yes, of course." And then he explained to me, but if I wasn't familiar with chopstick, it would have been very difficult
Yeah,
to
for you,
go.
yeah.
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 Well, these are the moments where you can show your interest in others' culture. Yeah.
Yeah, and be open as well. As
Be
you said,
open.
you
Yeah.
ask questions. You said it in the
Yeah.
very beginning. Be
Yeah.
like a baby,
Yeah. Be
like a
like me.
child.
Yeah. Be
Don't be
curious.
afraid
Be
of
curious. Yeah.
sometimes asking because you don't know. You face the unknown. You are in in a different culture.
Yeah.
So you should remain humble, right? And
Be
if you
be
don't know, just
humble.
ask.
Be humble to ask.
Yeah.
I repeat. I asked the question: how can I eat these these pieces of meat? And he explained to me how I had to do, and I did it.
Yes.
And so this was also the very
Lesson.
first moment to start the conversation.
Exactly. If you
with
don't
this
know the first
person.
lesson, ask.
Yeah.
Don't throw business
Ask.
cards at people.
Exactly.
Lesson number 2.
If you
To
have to cook
succeed is across.
spaghetti,
If you want to cook
be
spaghetti,
sure the
we
temperature
have
is
quite a
100
lot
degrees.
of.
Don't throw business cards and learn how to use chopsticks.
This is perfect. So much useful information, Emanuele.
I know you invited me for this.
For this, exactly for this. Um, well, listening to you today, I was thinking, well, we are very different. Different cultures, languages, we cook different things. And but there must be something that we have in common, don't you think so? Like the core.
Yeah, it's what remains.
Yes.
Okay, it's what remains when you, um, for example, at the beginning of my professional journey, um, I was very concentrate on how to do things in Italy, for example. Okay, and I love to take care of details, and because I'm a little bit perfectionist in some ways. But then you go abroad, and when you are in Europe, easier. But when you already go to Africa, you already go to US, or you move to Asia, um, you realize that many of the things that you do are not necessary. Are only, are not necessary in a universal sense, but are necessary for that single culture. And then you understand that there is the core part. Okay, there is the core part which is not enough. Okay, is not enough, but must be added like when you put salt
Yeah.
in the water,
Let's
for
come back to
example.
spaghetti. Yeah.
Yeah, I love cooking. But it's like when you have to add something to enrich the value of the core. Okay,
core.
but also to understand the core is very important, because at the end you're doing something. Okay, what is the core part of what you're doing? What is the core part? You understand this. You also understand this when you have the possibility to benchmark with different cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end, if you do the same thing in the US, in Europe, in Italy, in Asia, in Africa, then what is the common part, the core part of all this, and what are the cultural
Adds on.
adds-on
Yeah.
of this core? Yeah, that's very important. That's very interesting.
I have so many questions. I
Yeah.
don't know. I know we don't have a lot of time, but probably I will invite you for our next podcast to develop some other subjects, spaghetti included. So, for my last question, final question, I want to challenge you, Emanuele. Tell me, do universal leaders actually exist? Because they seem
Olga.
like some perfect human
Olga,
beings.
yeah. You know, you had one joker you could play. You already played with the bad question you already asked, and now you're
But
asking
that's
another
my
one.
final one, I promise.
Well, I'm sorry for those who stayed on this podcast till now, but I have to say what I think.
Yeah.
From my point of view, the real universal leader, multicultural leader does not exist.
So we wasted our time today.
Yeah, we waste, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes. I don't know how long it took. But, well, there are certain traits of leaders that are universally appreciated. Okay, but I don't think that someone can be a leader everywhere in any culture, and or at least I don't think you can do it by purpose. It can happen. It can happen that people choose you as a leader, but you cannot adapt yourself in order to be considered as a leader everywhere. You have to be who you are. You have to be authentic. You have to be coherent. You have to be curious. You have to be at the service of other. You have to share your experience, your best practices, your success, your failures, and so on.
Yeah, but probably it will not work everywhere,
And
right?
people will decide.
Yeah, people will
They
decide.
will
yeah.
choose their leaders. Okay. And as I said at the beginning, also in certain environment, even honesty is not appreciated. For example, so
So there is no recipe. It's not like cooking spaghetti, right? You can't just give a recipe and say, "Hello, hey, follow these steps, and you
I
will
see you
be
insist on spaghetti.
a universal leader."
If you want, I can tell you the second secret part of the temperature of the water.
Shall we keep it for our second podcast?
Yeah, for the second podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the reply to your question is that I don't think we can really be by purpose
Yeah.
a leader for everybody. Can happen, but not by purpose. The risk is you lose your authenticity. The risk is you lose your authenticity is the correct word. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Emanuele. I
It's-
really
it's my
enjoyed
pleasure.
our conversation today. Thanks a lot for
It's my
finding the
pleasure.
time.
And thank you, Olga, for inviting me.
Thank you. That's it for this episode. Join us next time for more inspiring stories and tips on how to win at being a leader. Until then, goodbye.